Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantal, and today we are talking about the 2026 r/fantasy bingo board. And I love this bingo board. I love doing it every year. My husband is doing a D&D one-shot, so I apologize if you hear any background noise. But this bingo board is something I've been doing for a few years now. I always do my best to try to pull from books I already own, which also incentivizes me to read my owned books. And then I also have some where I just don't have any suggestions, and I've gone through Reddit and seen recommendations, so I have a couple from there. I will link to all of the r/fantasy stuff, so the bingo board and the recommendations posts I use and the Storygraph challenge that is set up, and you can find a lot of recs there. Although you have to be careful with Storygraph because a lot of people put what they're going to read for it, and it may not be hard mode, and sometimes some people don't really do the square properly. What we're doing today is I'm going to go through each square, so there are 25 squares, and I'm going to talk about what I plan to read for that square and a couple of recommendations if I have them. So let's strap in and do this. So every square has a prompt, and that prompt also has a optional hard mode addition to the prompt. I don't try to do a hard mode blackout because that would be very tough. And while this is about exploring and expanding, like sometimes I just can't get into, you know, the hard mode of something. And sometimes some of these squares are hard enough to get to. Let's get to it. Also, it is very warm. I am very flushed because I went to the beach for my birthday, had a very nice beach day, and I got my first ever mild sunburn in my entire life. Shocking that happened. So it's like just a little bit right here. So it's weird. It's very strange to have a sunburn. Also, my lips got a little burned, but worth it. It was a good beach day. Let's go on to the squares. The first square that we have is trans or non-binary protagonist. Story features a trans or non-binary protagonist. This protagonist must not be an alien or a robot. Hard mode. The story is set in a pre-modern period. I'm looking here because I got my iPad up, so apologies if I'll use these like the side of my head for a lot of this. What I have planned to read from this from my books and what will be hard mode first is American Hippo by Sarah Gailey. This is like an alternative history set in the American West where there are hippos in a river and people hunt hippos. And there is, trans non-binary protagonist, of course, obviously. And then He Who Drowned the World, which is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun. I still have not read this. I really like She Who Became the Sun. Still need to finish this. So these two count for hard mode. These are going to be what I am aiming to read. So obviously, She Who Became the Sun, the first book in that duology. Another Sarah Gailey. Sarah Gailey is a great go-to if you want non-binary trans representation. They are non-binary, and this one, which is hard mode, this will be upright. Oh, is it hard mode? Upright Women Wanted. It is set in a pre-modern time period, I would say. So yeah, Upright Women Wanted. Any of the Cleric Chi series, the Singing Hill Cycle by Nevo. I love this series. This is like book 4 or 5 or something. Main character Cleric Chi is non-binary. And then others that are non-hard mode, but still great books with trans and non-binary protagonists. First is a short story collection called The Way Spring Arrives and Other Stories. This is a team of female and non-binary creators translated from China. So Chinese authors and creators, all non-binary and female. Definitely check this out. We have The Genesis of Misery by Neon Yang. Neon Yang is non-binary, and this has trans non-binary characters. And lastly, Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. I really liked this one. This has a trans main character. So that is that square. Let us move on. My husband is so loud. I don't know if you can hear him. Okay. The next square is called Judge a Book by its Title. This is read a book based on the title. This can be a title so epic you had to pick it up, or so weird and off-putting that you needed to know why it was called this. Hard mode is dive in without reading the blurb or any summaries. I'm a mood reader, And a lot of times there's stuff in here which really like, it forces me to read stuff that I wouldn't just pick up on my own. And part of that is I'm not gonna just get a title. A title will like draw me into looking at the book, but I'm always gonna read the synopsis to see if it appeals to me. So I definitely probably am not gonna hit hard mode, but I will say there are a couple that have some great titles that I'm picking for this. So first is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Love Stephen Graham Jones. Have a couple of his that I have yet to read, so I need to read this. And the other is Metal from Heaven by August Clark. This is a fantasy novel. I don't really know what this is about, but it's a great title. Oh, it's shiny. I always forget how shiny this book is. It's a great title, so I grabbed it. There are, you know, others that I could have grabbed, but essentially these are the two options that I am picking to try to read for this prompt. The next square is translated. I love this square. I do try to read translated works as much as possible. So this is the story has been translated from a language you don't read or speak. Hard mode, first translated into your language within the last 5 years. First recommendation I'm gonna give is a Korean fantasy novel that was translated within the last 5 years. This is Blood of the Old Kings by Kim Sung-il. This was translated by Anton Her. This is it feels like kind of very generic fantasy, but it's interesting like that coming from a South Korean author. And then it does a lot of really cool stuff with magic and necromancy that I really, really liked out of this. I didn't quite feel the second novel. I think it's supposed to be a trilogy, but I thought this was a great this is a great entry point into fantasy, and I really enjoyed this one. I have a bunch of translated stuff. I just don't want to pull all of it out. So I think for this square, I'm going to read The Cabinet by Kim Eun-soo. So this is like a person who works in like a place where there's like a normal filing cabinet, except the cabinet is filled with files on the symptomers, people whose weird abilities and bizarre experiences might just mark the emergence of a new species. So I've had this for years. I do need to get to this. Also an option for this is all the freaking danmei I have. I need to read all the danmei. I am missing one here. I'm probably missing Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation Volume 2. So all the danmei is here. And there's a bunch of like new translated works coming out this year. So first we have If We Cannot Go with the Speed of Light by Kim Choyup. This is coming out this year, I believe the end of April. This is translated by Anton Her. It is a short story collection. We have The Heart of the Naga by Lee Young-do. This is coming out, I think it's coming out at the end of April, but I got some conflicting information from different like publisher sites. But as far as I can tell, it's coming out at the end of April. This is a, let's see, it's like a epic classic fantasy series. What's next? Oh, Strange Beasts of China by Yan Ge. I have the book somewhere. I did not want to go digging for it. This is a great, very weird Chinese speculative work about these strange beasts that live in a modern Chinese town and the person who is kind of investigating them. Tender as the Flesh by Augustina Bastarrica, and probably the most recent one by them, The Unholy, The Unwritten, something like that. So that can work. Lots of really interesting translated works coming out this year. Very excited. There is a website that is, I think it's like SF in Translation. I will link down below. I get a lot of my information from there, and it's just great if you want to expand your translated works, and especially if you want to read from more than just like Japanese or Chinese and South Korean translated works. I've cooled down a little bit, so glasses are back on. So next square is small press or self-published. Read a book published by a small press, not a big 5 publisher, or self-published. The book has hard mode is the book has under 100 ratings on Goodreads, or is by an author from a marginalized group. This is the same every year. I do the same thing every fucking year. I have a bunch of books from Neon Hemlock Press. I enjoyed what they do. I need to read them. So the first one, I don't know if these are under 100 ratings, and Caitlin Starling is not a marginal, I guess if you're counting women as marginalized groups, Caitlin Starling, The Oblivion Bride. I have The Dead Withheld by L.D. Lewis. I have The Cosmic Color by T.T. Madden. Oh, this could also count for the trans protagonist square. I have Empire of the Feast by Bendy Barrett, and I have Stone and Steel by Ebony Dunbar. So these are all novelettes from Neon Hemlock that I have the option of to read for this year. Okay, the next square is really cool. This is Unusual Transportation. The story includes a surprising method of moving from place to place. By unusual, mean that is out of the ordinary in real life and uncommon in the book's broader genre. So it can like a highly unique take on a genre staple or be a completely original mode of transit. Hard mode, transportation is not combustion powered or steam powered, etc., etc. I don't have any books specifically for this, but there are a couple where I was like kind of surprised that they had this element in it, and I've been kind of wanting to read it. So first of all, the one that shocked me was The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. Apparently the witches, or they fly their houses. Don't know what's going on there. That is all I saw on Reddit, and I am so intrigued by that. I typically don't do historical fiction or anything like that, but I am so intrigued. We have Asunder by Kirsten Hall. I don't know what the transportation is. I just hear that it's weird. We have Symbiosis by Nikki Drayden. Actually, I'm reading the sequel to Symbiosis. So Escaping Exodus. I read Symbiosis many years ago. This is a duology. I still have not read the second book, so this may be what I focus on for this. So in this one, the society has live inside the inside of a like traveling space whale. That's how they travel through space. And then another one people said was The Mad Sisters of Essie by Tashan Mehta. So that would be interesting. I think I have read a couple of chapters of Voidverse by Damien Ober. The way people travel between rocks floating in this void is very interesting. And apparently someone said Slow Gods by Claire North may count for hard mode as well. So lots of options, which I thought this would be a very hard one, but lots of options. Reddit is great. I just love how many books out there where I was just like, I had no idea, but here we are. Okay, another one where I don't have any books that I own yet for this. This is The Afterlife. The story deals with the realm of the dead. This could be communicating with the dead, spirits transferring over, being set in the afterlife itself. Hard mode, The Afterlife does not depict a good place versus a bad place dichotomy. So for this, lots of options that people had on Reddit. We have The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu, which is kind of like a urban fantasy series. The Goddess Chronicle by Natsuo Kirino. Archivist Wasp by Nicole Coroner Stacy. And I've heard of Archivist Wasp for years. Like, I just know the name. I've known that book title for so many years. Maybe this is the year that I finally dig into it and see what it's actually about. And then someone suggested The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka, which was apparently nominated for the International Booker Prize a few years ago. So quite a few. I'm also still deep into the Mercy Thompson series, and Mercy does converse with ghosts. And honestly, the book I'm reading right now is very ghost heavy so far, so that might be what I pick for it. I don't know. I know I'm going to have at least one Mercy book on this because of how many I'm reading. Okay, the next square is Gamechanger, and this is so easy. I'm holding this up just to represent it, but Dungeon Crawler Carl, any book in the entire series. So I have to read book 7, This Inevitable Ruin. Book 8 is coming out in May, so it's April now. So yeah, this is the month I wanted to read This Inevitable Ruin so that I don't have to wait too long for book 8, which is A Parade of Horribles. So oh yeah, Gamechanger. Story features a gamer competition. Hard mode, the protagonist bends or breaks the rules in some way. Carl. So this is purely a Carl square for me, so whatever Carl book I read is going to be there. The next square is Vacation Spot. The story takes place somewhere you'd want to visit, either fictional or non-fictional. This is subjective, etc., etc. Hard mode, no hard mode, you deserve a break. Thank you. For this one, I'm picking London. I've always wanted to visit England. So 2 urban fantasy books here. I have Midnight Riot by Ben Aronovich. This is the start of an urban fantasy series. And I have Fated by Benedict Jaka. This is the start of another urban fantasy series. So 2 books taking place in London that I could pick for this. I am also reading the current Mercy book I'm reading. Could also be an option because a large part of it takes place in Italy and Prague. So both places I also really want to visit for vacation. So I don't know. Lots of options for this, but probably gonna be one of these 2. Moving on to our next square is 5 short stories. You can read 5 short stories, any 5 short stories, speculative of course, or hard mode read entire anthology or collection. I always try to read entire anthology. This year I am picking 10 Planets by Yuri Herrera. He is a Mexican author, speculative fiction in translation. this is what I've got. I have a bunch of other speculative short stories, and I'm gonna be so honest, I just didn't want to pull any of them out. So maybe Ken Liu, The Paper Menagerie is fantastic. If you haven't read it, absolutely go check out that anthology. I do have Ted Chiang's anthology, Stories of Your Life. So that is also an option. I haven't read it, but I know it's very good. So, but this is going to be 10 planets. The next square we have is Older Protagonist. The story features a main character who is at least 50 years old. I fucking love this square. Hard mode, the protagonist does not have exceptional longevity or immortality, e.g. not an elf, dwarf, vampire, god, etc. Here's the thing. It says does not have exceptional longevity or immortality. Is that from like our perspective or the perspective of... No, I'm trying to skirt around the square. No, I don't have any hard mode for this. So the first one, my option is Nobody's Baby by Olivia Waite. This is the second book in the Dorothy Gentleman series. This is humans are living on a generation ship traveling to another place. They have a way of like regenerating to bodies. So Dorothy is a couple hundred years old. And then The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones is a vampire. I believe the priest is probably maybe over 50. I don't know, could be, but definitely the vampire. So I have two options here. Some people have done some options. So Remnant Population by Elizabeth Moon. I wish this would count for me, but I DNF'd that book a couple of years ago. Let's see. Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames is apparently one. The Daughter of Crows by Mark Lawrence apparently will count. So I am intrigued by that. So that is definitely going to be a library hold, and we'll see how that works out for me. All right, our next square is pretty cool. Duology Part 1. So yes, there is a Part 2 later on. Read the first book in a duology, hard mode, by an author you haven't read before. So I have quite a few duologies that I own. First, this is one I've already read. I've already talked about. I loved The Fireborn Blade. It's a duology, and this is just a fun fantasy book with sapphic main characters. It's fun. And then we're coming to, okay, this one I've already read as well. She Who Became the Sun. Fantastic. Really loved it. Like I said earlier, I need to read the second one. So that's that. All right, coming to ones I haven't read yet. Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This is a duology, a YA duology, inspired by African mythology. I've been wanting to read this forever. I don't know why I keep putting it off. And then I also have A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin. This is a duology, and I haven't read it yet. So these are my two options for what I haven't read yet. I have read Arcady Martin, so hard mode would be Jordan Ifueko for Raybearer. We are moving on to the next square, which is r/fantasy book club or read along book. This is tackle any past or active r/fantasy book club book. And the hard mode is partake in a current selection of either book club or read along and participate in the discussion. I don't have time to do the hard mode. So this is what I had last year and I didn't do the square. So again, Lead in the Mist by Hope Merleys. This is my selection for this. Next square is a square they have every year. It's published in 2026. Hard mode, it's the author's first published novel, so a debut novel. There are a lot coming out this year, but first, I've already read it. I read it before this, so can't count it, but The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. This is so good. I still need to do a review of this. This is so fucking good. I loved it. It is up there in my favorite books of the year. Absolutely up there. And then what I'm going to read for this and another book that is coming in the mail I don't have yet. This is City of Others by Jared Poon. This is a urban fantasy. Thank you. What?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, babe. My husband thought he heard me. No, I did not call for him. Where was I? City of Others by Jared Poon. This is an urban fantasy that takes place in Singapore, which is going to be fun. This is probably going to be it. And then also, I may also count Love Galaxy by Sierra Branham, I think is her name. This is like a dating reality show, but in space and sci-fi. Let's see what else is coming out this year. There's some good stuff, some good debut stuff. So we have The Republic of Memory by Mahmoud El Sayed. This is a generation ship kind of story where the people who are awake on the generation ship and responsible for the lives of the people who are in cryostasis on the ship kind of start to wonder why. So revolution, I guess, unionizing, I don't know, let's go. Next is Sublimation by Isabel J. Kim. Isabel J. Kim won a Hugo for her short story, I believe, and this is like an expansion on a different short story. We have Witch Queen Rising by Savannah Stevens. I still don't know what this is about. I just love this cover. pure cover buy for me. The Subtle Art of Folding Space by John Chu. I had an arc for this. I unfortunately DNF'd it just because of some of the content in it was just too much for me. There's a very toxic, hard to, for me to read relationship with the character and their sister, so I couldn't really keep going, but I really do enjoy John Chu, so check it out if you want to check it out. That's what I've got for debut novels coming out this year. On to the next square, which is Explorers and Rangers. Story features an explorer who is a character who travels to and investigates an unfamiliar region, or a ranger, a wilderness or forest errant warrior, frequently specializing in things like stealth, bows, tracking, and other hunting related skills. Hard mode, the explorer or ranger has an animal companion. May I suggest the Singing Hills cycle by Nevo? For me, for the square and hard mode, I am going to do the one coming out this year, which is called A Long and Speaking Silence. Cleric G goes out and explores different lands and regions, learning about stories of the lands and regions that they go to, and they have a bird companion called Almost Brilliant. I love the series. So this, the next book that's coming out this year is going to be what I count for this square. Duology Part 2. Here it is. Read the second book in a duology. For the generic rules of bingo is you can't double up on an author. It has to be in an individual book. You can't double up on squares, anything like that. One author per square, but they are bending those rules for the duology, because if you want to read a duology, you want to read 1 and 2 by the same author, that's okay. Hard mode is you finish a different duology than you started for part 1. So, again, I will suggest the second book in the Bloodless Prince, the Fireborn Blade. This is Bloodless Princess. Fantastic. And okay, depending on what I read for the first one, I've got the second half of the Texcalon duology, A Desolation Called Peace. I have a Redemptor, which is for Raybearer, and I have He Who Drowned the World. So, Raybearer, Redemptor, I do want to read all of them, so whatever I do, if I read all 3 of these for the year, then I hard mode is done. Next square, we are halfway through. More than halfway through. We are on one-word title. Story has a one-word title. Hard mode, the title is not a proper noun. No names of people or places. I have a selection, all of which I have not read yet. So we have Cetaganda by Lois McMaster Bujold. This is the next Vorkosgan Saga book that I have to read, and a couple other Vorkosgan books count. So I think there's Memory, there's Cryoburn, so there's a few. I have Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I actually have a vlog idea planned for this, so this probably will count. I have Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. Yes. I have Frontier by Grace Curtis, space western. I have Rubicon by J.S. Dews, Live, Die, Reboot, sci-fi, military, fun stuff, I guess. And I have Everfair by Nisi Shaw. This is a reimagining of Belgium's disastrous colonization of the Congo, but from a alternate history set in the Congo where heroes strive for utopia and endeavor to live together despite their differences. Nisi Shaw. That's it for that square. So any of those are going to count. The next square is non-human protagonist. Story features a main character who is not human. Hard mode, there are no human POVs in the story entirely. Why did I grab this stack? I did mix up my books. Okay, so I have The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. The main character is an orc. I don't know what other POVs and stuff are in here. And then another option is Automatic Noodle by Annalee Newitz. This is the library copy. I do have to turn it back in, and like literally when I go back to work tomorrow, I'll drop it off the library. But this is also an option. 2 options for non-human protagonist. What else have we got? We've got The Cloud Roads by Martha Wells, the Redwall series, some of the Becky Chambers Wayfarer series, Becky Chambers Monk and Robot, Hollow Kingdom, which is the point of view of a raven or a crow during a zombie apocalypse. Yeah, lots of options. Moving on to the next square, we have middle grade book. Read a middle grade book. Hard mode, the author is entirely new to you. So hard mode for me is going to be The Last Cuentista by Donna Barba Higuera. I've had this for a while. I know it's fantastic. It is a Newbery Medal winner, so I know it's fantastic. I know it's heartbreaking. I'm gonna read it this year. This is my hard mode. But my other options are Alana by Tamora Pierce. And I think the continuation of the Percy Jackson series counts. I think. I'm pretty sure it counts because in the bookstore it is shelved with the children's stuff, not with the YA stuff. So Percy Jackson. We're moving on to First Contact as a square. Story prominently features interspecies or interracial meeting for the first time. Hard mode, non-violent first contact. For me, hard mode is going to be Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers. And then I have Blind Sight by Peter Watts, which people say counts for hard mode. So it's probably going to be Roadside Picnic for me. Murder mystery. I love murder mystery and sci-fi fantasy. I especially love the very niche subgenre of murder mysteries or thrillers set on a spaceship, a space cruise ship, a space hotel, a space colony, a space generation ship. That is a subgenre niche that I freaking love. So I do have options. They're not all, you know, my favorite subgenre. So what I will count for my favorite subgenre, I have two here that'll count for hard mode, because first of all, this is murder mystery, not just mystery or thriller. And the hard mode is the main character is not a detective or investigator. Okay, I take it back. I'm moving out for hard mode. The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitase. And this is a hard mode that I have not read yet. So I've been wanting to read this forever. Finally going to read it for this. I also have, which is, I completely forgot until I saw my bookshelves, The Man Who Died 7 Times by Yasuhiko Nishizawa. This is a time loop story, so it is speculative. And it's a guy who is in a time loop and trying to figure out who killed his grandfather. So he's not a detective, so that'll count for hard mode too. One of them I think is on the cusp of hard mode, Station Eternity by Mur Lafferty. So this kind of describes the main character as like a amateur detective, but I think she is one in like the cozy mystery sense, where the whole thing is that she flees to like a space station off Earth because she thinks the further away she is from humans, people tend to die around her. So she's been forced to investigate so many murders because they just tend to happen around her. And so she's kind of an amateur detective in that fashion, like the cozy mystery fashion, which this is kind of fashioning itself after. The series is called the Midsolar Murders and Midsummer Murders. So it's on the cusp of hard mode because she's not like an actual detective or investigator. She's an amateur one in the sense that she's kind of forced into it. But this could be an option. So hard mode cusp, but definitely for the prompt. Of course, Murder by Memory by Olivia Waite. I love this series. I thought about the second book, but the second book doesn't actually have a murder, but this one has a murder. This takes place on a generation ship, and the main character is actually a detective on the ship. Then we have Extremity by Nicholas Bingi. This follows a detective who comes out of retirement to investigate a very, very strange murder. Can't forget book 1 of The Expanse, Leviathan Wakes. This is a murder mystery. The main character, the character who's following the murder, is a police detective, but it is a murder mystery. So there you go. Those are my murder mysteries. I do actually have a plan to have a video about that subgenre that I love. So it may take some time because I do still have to read a few books, but I'm very, very excited to get that up. But I do have a list on Pagebound if you want to check it out of books that I have put together for that subgenre. But you know, I love this square. Catsquasher. This is a square where you read a book over 500 pages in length. An omnibus book doesn't count for this. Hard mode, over 900 pages. This is not all of the big books that I have. These are just the biggest ones I could find. First, for my hard mode, finally gonna dig into this. The Veiled Throne, which is the Dandelion Dynasty, book 3. It is 1,000 pages. Is it 1,000 pages? No, it's like 970 something pages. Hard mode, 900 plus pages. Finally gonna get into this. At least it's floppy. Like, it's so nice and floppy. But yes, finally, I am going to finish Dandelion Dynasty this year. Next, these are all over 500, but they are not 900. Strength of a Few. I need to read this. I loved The Will of the Many. Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. This is my broken binding edition. So the sprayed edges, special cover, Doomsday Book. Also broken binding is Wool by Hugh Howey. So I have that. And I think I'm going to finally get back into, what is the name of this series? Oh my God. Don't get mad, Ashley. Don't get mad. I forgot the name of the series, but Jen Lion series, book 3, The Memory of Souls. I did DNF book 2 very, very close to the end, but I think enough time has passed where the reason that I had to pause on it is not going to annoy me as much anymore. So I'm going to go back, reread, you know, a little bit before where I stopped and just finish that, and then finally get back into it and continue with The Memory of Souls. Those are my Catsquashers. Okay. I have so many. I also have Perhaps the Stars by Ada Palmer. This is book 4 in this series. I've not gotten there yet. Yeah, I got a lot. The next square is really cute. I like this. This is Feast Your Eyes on This, a book where food or meal is significant to the story's plot. Hard mode, attempt making a dish from the story for yourself. So the first one, I have read this, but I will suggest The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. The main character makes jams. Other characters do baked goods. So try to make jam. I don't know. But I think for this, food is involved. When the Moon Hits Your Eye by John Scalzi, the moon turns to cheese and people deal with it. I'm not going to do hard mode for this. I don't do the cooking in this house. I can cook if I need to, but I just don't wanna. My husband likes cooking, and I eat whatever he puts in front of me. I'm happy with it. So I don't know that I'm going to try to make cheese, but this does have to do with food. The moon turns to a cheese. I would argue that has to do with food. So When the Moon Hits Your Eye. What another option? A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. You could try to make a sourdough or other baked goods. What else? And then there's a bunch of like cozy fantasies with tea. I may do one of those and then make a cup of tea. They are so loud. They're so loud. I don't know if you can hear it. Next square is published in the 70s. Read a book that was first published anytime between 1970 and 1979. Let me grab a book. Hard mode, written by a woman. So not hard mode, but Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers does count. But my hard mode is Spell of the Witch World by Andre Norton, and Andre Norton is a woman. So I have a couple of her books, but this one, of the ones I own, was written in the 70s. So it's gonna be this one. Our next square is Politics and Court Intrigue. Politics are central to the story's plot. This covers everything from royalty, elections, and wars to smaller local politics. Hard mode, there's a prominent focus on politics at a city level or lower. I don't have hard mode options for this. I really feel like it's one of those things where I'm just gonna have to read the book and see if it counts. So my two options of what I own, I have The Will to Battle by Ada Palmer. This is book 3 in the Terra Nova series. I do have to get back to this. And then I have Unvicious Worlds by Bethany Jacobs. This is book 2 in the Kingdom trilogy. I loved the first book, These Burning Stars. I have a third book up there too. So I need to finish this series. So those are my two options for politics. Okay, last we have Author of Color. And I don't think I need to suggest Author of Color books. I have so many that it would be kind of absurd for me to pull them all out. But I will do a couple for hard mode. So the hard mode is the author does not live in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. So all of those translated works that I did for the translated square will count. Yuri Herrera, who I picked up for the short story square, will count. He's Mexican. The Cabinet, Kim Un-soo, Kim Sung-il, Korean, South Korean, all of the Danmei, Chinese. So these are all going to count. And whatever one of those that I do that isn't counting for another square is what I do for this square. What else do we have? We also have Aliette de Bodard is a person of color. She lives in France. The Mad Sisters of Essie by Tashan Mehta. I can't remember if they're in India, Sri Lanka. Speaking of Sri Lanka, what is his name? He wrote The Saint of Bright Doors and won the Hugo, and he also wrote the next one, which is Ragsfall. Vajra Chandrasekhara. Water Moon by Samantha Sotoyambao. I think she's in Singapore or Malaysia. Neon Yang is in Singapore. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff out there. People who don't live in those countries. So it's pretty cool. And again, like I said, I'm going to link to the Reddit post. That's all the recommendations, so you can sift through that and find stuff. That was all of my r/fantasy plans, some recommendations, what I'm going to try to read. My bed is a freaking mess of books. And yeah, so kicking off 2026, I like quite a few of these squares, like really do. It's very exciting to get into this. So let me know what your favorite square is. If you have a suggestion for any squares that you think would be really cool to check out, I would love to hear it for sure. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.